Hatchlings, it's DragonFeather, and welcome back to day 11 of our 31 days of Samhain, and for today we will be talking about deities of darkness. Just a little disclaimer here, guys. When I say deities of darkness, I do not mean evil deities. This is not about evil anything. It's just about deities and gods and goddesses that are more in touch with the darker aspects of this world and reality. And we will be covering some gods, goddesses of the dead, of death, of the night, of the moon, and some more. So if you are interested in learning about some deities of the darkness, then please keep watching. So during Samhain, the goddess enters her crone phase. So we will be going over a lot of crone goddesses as well. During the seasons of the cycles, the goddess progresses from maiden mother to crone. And also during Samhain, this is when the god dies and guides all of those who have passed into the other world and into the next life. That being said, there is kind of a darker theme here when it comes to Samhain and when it comes to celebrations of the dead. And when we're working with these darker deities, it's important to understand the darker themes behind them and to know that even though it may be a little intimidating or uncomfortable to work with these, that it's absolutely important and imperative to acknowledge the darker aspects of deity when we are working with the deities in general. Before we get into some deities of darkness, I have a few questions for you guys to answer before you embark on your journey within. So the first question is, do you work with any deities? And I absolutely do. Some of my favorite deities to work with are the Morrigan, Hecate, Isis. I really am starting to look into working with Cernunnos as well, and I work with the Horned God. And these are all deities that I commonly work with. Some that I've been interested in is Nyx, which is a lunar goddess, and she's a nighttime goddess, and Osiris as well. I've worked with him a long time ago, but I just don't think I was really ready to have that relationship with him, but we'll see as time goes on. But yes, I do work with deities. Have you ever worked with any crone goddesses? And the answer is yes. Currently, I work with Hecate. She is a maiden mother crone goddess, so she is one of the goddesses that embodies all of the phases. And I also work with the Morrigan, who is often seen as a crone goddess as well. And lastly, have you ever celebrated god and goddess during Samhain? And particularly, I don't think I have. I don't think I've done something specifically on Samhain for a god or a goddess. And that's a really interesting question actually, now that I think about it, because whenever it comes to Samhain, I usually honor the dead, and my focus is on the dead rather than a god or a goddess. Some common crone goddesses are Alla, Anubis, Baubo, Baba Yaga, Eli, Hecate, Hela, Kali, Lara, Lilith, the Morrigan, Nishivan, and Sedna. All of these you can find. For more information on these goddesses, you can find it all in the post made by one of the Hatchlings in the Hatchling Clan. If you are interested in learning more about the gods and goddesses that we will be going over and ways to work with them, summon them, and honor them, there will be all of that in the more detailed post within the Hatchling Clan that will be linked down below for your convenience. The crone stage of Maiden Mother Crone is the older stage. It is the grandmother stage, if you will. It is the stage that the goddess enters after she has bared her children and after she has grown with many, many years of life experience. So she is seen as wise and as someone who is great to go to if you seek knowledge. She is an ancient keeper of wisdom, and so it's important to work with these goddesses if you want to get more in touch with wisdom within yourself and just the wisdom of the world in general. So next are goddesses of death and the dead, and those ones are the Morrigan, Nephthys, Persephone, Hecate, and Ereshkigal. I might have butchered those names, but all the information about them will be in the post. We have gods of death and the dead, and these are Hades, Anubis, Osiris, Ahriman, Apuch, and Mot. I might have butchered some of those names, so forgive me. So next we have deities of the nighttime. So we have goddesses of night. We have Nyx, Asteria, and Itzapapalodal. Some of these names I am very unfamiliar with, but There you go. And then we have gods of the night, which is Tezcatlipoca and Erebus. So if I butchered any of those names and you work with these gods or goddesses, please forgive me. I'll probably put their names on the screen just because they are quite a challenge. Some other common gods and goddesses of darkness are Lysa, the goddess of rage and nightmares, Lilith, the goddess of courage, passion, and pleasure. Some gods are Phobedor, the god of nightmares, and Achilles, the spirit, I don't know if that's right, Achilles? It might be Achilles, spirit of the death mist. Those are just some common darker gods and goddesses. If any of those piqued your interest, please feel free to look more into them, not only in the post in the Hatchling Clan, but doing your own research as well. And I wanted to go over some ways to celebrate the god and goddess. So you can decorate your altar with symbols of the god, like acorns, pine cones, and phallic symbols, and representations of the goddess in her crone phase, which is red flowers, cups, and pomegranates. Leave offerings for the gods and goddesses, such as do a ritual to acknowledge both the crone and the death of the god, and giving thanks to the resources both aspects allow you to obtain. So it's really important to acknowledge the sacred process of dying and death. And a lot of us get really scared about it because, you know, once we die, our bodies don't exist anymore, and that the whole point of being on this planet is to survive, right? But this process of death allows us to rest. It allows us to come to a conclusion within our physical life here. It gives our life value, because if we were here all the time, our life wouldn't have as much value as it does when we're only here for a limited amount of time. And when we die, we've been over this a little bit in a previous video, but when we die, you know, we don't really know what happens. And I think that's the whole point, because if we knew what would happen after we died, then what would be the mystery? What would be the darker allure of it? Some people are very obsessed with death, and some people are very, very terrified by it. So it's something that is inevitable for everybody, and something that we all have to come to terms with eventually. And by working with gods and goddesses that are of the dead or of death, then it's really important to understand that death isn't the end, but rather a new beginning. So there's also a prayer to the Morrigan, invocation of the crone, and invocation to Anubis in the post in the Hatchling Clan if you're interested, but I won't be getting too much into that for this video. However, I have some post questions after you have learned a little bit more of the gods and goddesses of the dark or the darkness. And here they are. Are any of these gods or goddesses new to you? Absolutely. Some of them I had such a hard time pronouncing, but it's really fascinating to learn about the different gods and goddesses that are associated with the darker themes of the world, from around the world, you know, just all sorts of different cultures from all different sorts of times that could have never have met in ancient culture have darker entities, and I think that's really fascinating, and I think that's a common theme that you can see throughout humankind. Do any deities named which you haven't yet worked with stand out to you? Yes, I am very interested in working with Nyx, which is the goddess of the night. I haven't really worked with her previously. I have heard a lot about her in the Hatchling Clan and from other practitioners, just from doing research. But I am very drawn to her because the night sky is really, really powerful for me, and I'm very influenced by the moon and the stars. And the last question is, what way will you celebrate God and Goddess this Samhain? For this Samhain, I want to reach out to the Morrigan more so than any other god or goddess, because the Morrigan for me has always been that empowered female energy that's like badass and like scary yet sexy and like loving, and just really just she's a beautiful embodiment of female energy in my opinion. And I feel like she often intimidates me to where I don't want to work with her, but the whole point of working with her is to be more like her and to embrace those aspects that she represents that are within myself. For Samhain, I definitely want to work with her a little bit with that, because the veil is going to be the thinnest, so I think it'll be the easiest time to communicate with her, especially because of what she represents. So that's all I have for you guys for today in this video. Like I said, if you want to learn more about deities of the darkness, then please check out the post made by one of the hatchlings in the Hatchling Clan, and it goes all in depth about different gods and goddesses that I've mentioned for this, and gives you some correspondences as well as some ways to connect with them and invocations for them if that's something that you're interested in. But if not, don't worry, because in the Hatchling Clan there's something for everybody. So please come join us and join our little magical family over there, for we have so much fun every day connecting and sharing our experiences and knowledges with everybody. Thank you so much for spending your day with me today. It means the world to me that you click on my videos, and I really hope that you enjoyed this one just as much as I did making it for you. So sending you endless love and positive vibes always. But until next time, stay geeky, cheeky, and freaky, okay, little hatchlings. But until next time, blessed be, and bye.
And it's funny that you think that I'm different when we're both made of water.